Assalamu alaikum. This is Farhad Abdullah Jafri. Today we are going to be understanding the nuclear physics, a part of O-level physics. The terms itself stands for nuclear and physics. Nuclear meaning nuclei related. This is the plural of nucleus, the word right here. And physics simply stands for study of matter or its properties. To keep it short, let's just term it as a study of matter. So the word would itself mean study of matter related to nuclei or a nucleus. Now what is a nucleus? The next question. Well, to answer you in the most basic and the most cliche form would be that it is the center of all mass of an atom. This is only the first point. The second point is the most important, that that would extend to all of these bottom parts. It is the center of all mass of an atom. Now the second point, it is a hypothetical theory, meaning none of this has been actually visualized by human eye. We have not seen atoms as clearly as this, right? The atomic structure as we know today. So it is just a hypothetical theory, meaning we can prove it, we can provide evidence for it, but we cannot show it directly. Now, the atomic structure as we know today looks something like this, with the nucleus sitting in the center like this. And this further consists of two subatomic particles, which are the proton and the neutron, and around which in energy shells or electron shells, so there are electrons residing within these shells. A basic know-how about these subatomic particles, proton, neutron and electron. Electron is a negatively charged particle, proton is a positively charged particle, and as the name neutron would suggest, it's a neutral particle. Let's understand the purpose of these charges. So with regards to each other, with their relations with each other, positive and positive repel, meaning if I were to bring two protons together, they would repel, they would move apart. Same way, negative, negative. So if I would bring an electron and an electron together, they would repel. But if I were to bring opposite charges, meaning electron and a proton, a positively and a negatively charged particle together, they would attract. This gave us the basic understanding of charges, meaning like charges repel, opposite charges attract. Moving on, you cannot see this clearly, but this here is written atomic theory. So how did we come up with the idea? How do we know? How are we so certain that this is how an atom would look? Let me explain to you. This process started way back in 500 BC when Democritus came up with the idea of atoms. He said, all stuff, anything you see around you, can be broken down into the most smallest particles, which are called atoms. But he made an assumption that atoms cannot be broken down any further. This is an assumption. He did not prove it, but he just made a claim and an assumption. In the 1800s, John Dalton explained diversity within atoms with regards to elements. What did he mean? For example, if we take a cube made of pure magnesium, then it would all be made of magnesium atoms. And if you were to take a flask, fill it with pure chlorine, then it would only consist of chlorine atoms. And these atoms would not be similar as they add up to make different objects or different stuff. But here also, John Dalton also made an assumption, and he said atoms are solid spheres, meaning there is nothing within them that can be further broken down. Meaning, this also reinstates the first idea, but it's different because he is now explaining a property of atom, which is that they are solid. In 1897, J.J. Thomson gave us plum pudding model. What is a plum pudding? Let me show you. This is a plum pudding. This is a pudding which is just like a cake, and within it there are pieces of plum. So he said that atoms are just like a large piece of pudding with discrete negative particles, i.e. electrons, acting as pieces of plums spread throughout the positively charged atom. Here he made two assumptions. Number one, atoms are mostly positive, throughout positively charged atom, meaning they are mostly positively charged. Secondly, that negative particles are very discrete in nature within the atom, meaning they are in very low quantity. This is the simpler way of noting this process down. The plums can be identified as electrons, and the pudding itself could be the atom. So atoms are not solid spheres. Okay, now the results of this theory negated the first two theories. First off, atoms are not solid states, meaning that if I could just like this is not true. Secondly, the electrons spread throughout the atoms, meaning they can be broken down into further smaller parts. So this is also wrong. Then the third point, that atoms are generally positive bodies. This was an assumption. Okay. Then in 1909, Ernest Rutherford and his students did the gold sheet experiment, firing positively charged alpha particles at an extremely thin sheet of gold. Now this was the most important breakthrough within this journey of the atomic structure, or the way we understand atomic structure. They planned that if the positively charged, working on this theory that atoms are generally positive, they said if they are, if all the atoms on this gold sheet, because it is very thin, all the atoms on this gold sheet are evenly spread out, meaning they are generally positive. So a positive beam would not be deflected or attracted, so hence it would move straight through. This was the planned path. What actually happened was they got three different paths. Some diverged in large angles, up and some down, and very few reflected back at angles they were thrown from. This gave new assumptions and new criteria for the argument. Atoms are, first point, atoms aren't mostly positive. This is true, because if they were, then all of the alpha particles would have passed right through. From any point they have been thrown, they would have passed straight through. But this did not happen. Everywhere, if we fired here, some went like this, some went like this, and a very few went back like this, or like this. Second point, most of the particles diverged off at large angles. We already got that. Very few particles deflected straight away. This is simply what I just explained to you. Resulting structure. So we got the idea that if most of the particles are still passing through, that means atoms are mostly empty. That's why they are passing through. But they are diverging. Henceforth, we know that there are positive charges through, not evenly spread. Otherwise, if in the earlier experiment we were to say there are positive charges there, there are positive charges there, there are positive charges here, if I would have been spreading them closer to here, they would have deflected, because forces, positive and positive, what happens? They repel. So the repulsion theory would be here, but clearly there isn't. So that means that atoms are mostly just empty. They have nothing in them. Most of the bodies are empty. Very few, very centric, in the very center of the entire atom is the solidarity, or the maximum number of positive charge, from which the alpha particles deflected back. This gave us two new points, that there is a compact nucleus with all positive charges, which I just explained to you, and there's a sea of electrons around the nucleus. But because negative and positive attracts, this atom should collapse automatically, meaning the negatives should be attracted to the positives and they should just collapse. They should just combine and collapse. That's what should happen if this theory is correct, which means that the part about these negative is not evident, is not clear through this experiment. We do know that protons, that the positive charges are in the center because the rays deflected and this happened and that happened, but we don't know about the negative charges. So this is just an assumption. This is an assumption from his discovery. Then in 1913, a man named Niels Bohr provided a rather natural explanation using the reference of planets and the sun. Because the only thing keeping the planets from colliding into the sun due to gravity is the centripetal force, meaning they are in a constant motion. So they said that, okay, this negative electron would also be in motion, this negative electron would also be in motion, and this gave us the new model, which was the orbiting electrons, meaning they are just moving around either this direction or that direction. The direction doesn't matter, but they are just revolving around a generally positive nucleus. Further experiments by Ernest Rutherford concluded that the nucleus was further subdivided into smaller positive proton particles. So we got this. Then, adding to the established model, James Chadwick provided evidence for a neutral particle in the nucleus, giving us the idea of neutrons. So we also added neutrons. This gave us the final atomic model that we have today, and we rely upon it. So this is the same that we discussed at the start. Yes. So now we know how through number of experiments and number of hypothetical theories we reached this conclusion that atom would most probably be in this structural format.